streaming. Are we streaming?
I think we're streaming.
Okay.
So let me refresh. Live now.
Oh, I gotta live chat this. I thought I had it on the live chat. It went away. You disappeared. You're not there. Stop.
Oh. I'm leaning over here so I can reach this one to moderate if I need to. Listening while walking dogs in the rain. That sounds soggy.
Ooh. I hope it doesn't. You don't have the chill with the rain that we had the other day. That's not good. I am really not happy about all the rain. That actually goes with our topic today.
Yes, it does.
It sure does. So we'll give it another minute. See what's
going
on. Pardon me, I'm sorry. The weather's so crazy that I'm shivering and it's windy. Well, hopefully the doggies will do their business fast and you can get home and wrap up and have a cup of tea and, get warm. Well, we're going to go ahead and start. So, what are you doing?
Sharing this so people know we're out there.
So, this year, you all know that every year I experiment with container gardening. I do that for a couple of reasons. Bad hurricane comes, I can bring the plants in, protect them a little bit. But this year, and for the next at least 2 to 3 years, our garden is going to be completely container gardening. And that's because we had the hurricane back in September, and we had some flooding, and I just don't feel comfortable about the ground.
Well, yeah, we had standing water over a foot on every part of our property, and other places it was going to be more than that. So
we had so much water here, and not as much as a lot of people, but we did have water that still Steve built when we first bought the house 13 years ago. Yeah,
we're all coming up on
13 years ago. He built a bridge because we had a deep ditch in the back, and it was made out of 4x4s.
4x4s and 2x6s and 2x8s.
Right. The water floated the bridge away.
Yeah, the bridge is so heavy that
hey, pickers,
I can stand it up by myself if I try really hard, but to actually pick it up and move it takes 2 people. The water got deep enough that it floated the bridge down a ways.
It did. So, okay, there was a lot of water. And we live in a rural area. People have old cars on their property. And what, about a quarter mile down the road is a tire and oil company.
Yeah, and the water flows from that way past us towards the sounds in the ocean.
So yes, I know I can have the land tested, but for my own reasoning, I'm concerned about contamination, of the ground, and I'm not willing to put my plants in there. And there's a second reason too. Our average rainfall is about 57 inches. Sometime in the beginning to mid-December, we already had 108 inches, and it has continued to rain. Our ground is saturated. And if I put any plants in there, they're going to die. They're going to drown before they can get strong enough to grow.
There's so much. I mean, I go outside and stand in the yard. If I stop and stand in one place for
water
a minute or two,
seeps up on your feet.
When I step away, there's 2 puddles where my feet were.
Exactly. So we have decided that, well, I kind of decided and you said, okay.
Well,
you're in full agreement, though.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree.
That we are going to container garden for the next couple of years. So what does that mean? That means that I am buying a lot of food-grade buckets, 5-gallon buckets, and I don't really like the idea of container gardening in plastic, although food-grade buckets, but we're going to do that. Well, we're going to do some bags.
We had some feedback on the bags that we used.
Yeah.
We used 2 different types of bags last year.
We used the Walmart bags that you buy for 50 cents a piece.
Yeah, green shopping bags.
The green shopping bags. And we used the taller ones from Tractor Supply. Now, they held up as long as they were sitting there, the Tractor Supply ones, but when we went to move them and empty the dirt because, well, the floodwaters got up into them too, they disintegrated.
The Tractor Supply bags, the UV light being outside in the sunlight, they broke down substantially. The ones that were in less direct sunlight were in better shape, but still starting to break down. Whereas the Walmart bags, surprisingly, were all in satisfactory condition to use over again.
Right, but they're going to have a thorough washing because they were in the floodwater, and
Okay, Roxy said, "I'm so glad you're sharing. My yard floods badly. I will try more container gardening now." And Suburban said, "Do we have an Ingles grocery store? They give me food-grade buckets for free."
We do not.
They're 3-gallon. I have pestered the folks at the various delis and the big stores, like the bakeries, or when they get frosting and they get some products in big buckets, and I've gotten some that way. Mm-hmm. It's hit or miss if you catch them when they have them and they're ready to let them go.
They're happy to let you have them, but as soon as they're finished with them, if you're not there, they dispose of them.
Yeah, when they're done, they go outside, so they don't have space to hold them. You either have to be there or have a friend that works there that collects them for you and takes them home. So
I think we bought 25 buckets so far, and that was right around $100.
So the biggest problem, the most annoying part, I guess it's not so much a problem as well it is, but we have really good soil.
We have phenomenal soil. We have worked over the years between having animals back there, adding sand, and good soil to begin with.
Yeah, remediating. We compost. We take the chicken manure and compost it, and then spread that out, and all of those sorts of things. We had good soil when we bought the house in the back, but even more so, it's very rich now, and we can't use any of that. Well, we're not going to because we don't know what's there.
We don't know what contaminants may be in the top layers of the soil. Also, we had 2 loads of wood chips dropped off last year, and we let them set where we turned them.
Yeah, breaking down.
They
make great soil over time.
So we'd have more soil. And because of the floodwaters, I'm not willing to use that. So we'll spread it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Now I've got 2 truckloads of wood chips that I can't use, but I've got to disperse because they're taking up a substantial amount of space.
They are.
Hello, Heather.
Hi,
Roxy
Heather.
Lips asked, "Do fox disrupt gardening? I never thought of them, and they're all around the fields." No, they're canines. They're not going to mess with the plants other than maybe if they dig something.
Right.
But that's normally not an issue. But they will run back and forth through them. However, they will eat your chickens or ducks or any other kind of livestock you might have of the small fowl variety. I guess goats and larger animals are pretty safe from foxes, but
Not coyotes.
not the small. If you have baby goats or rabbits or whatever, yeah, foxes are a hazard to them. Not a problem with the garden though, other than if you walk out there and there's one looking at you, scaring the crap out of you maybe.
So this year, and we're going to have to get a lot more. Not only do we have to have enough containers to put our garden in, and the bags, they won't go directly on the ground because, well, if it rains, the water will leach up into the bags, and then we should have just planted in the ground. But we're not going to do that.
Well,
so we have pallets that we're going to set
everything sits up on pallets just to provide a barrier or a gap between the soil contaminant and possible contaminants. What about wild turkeys? Yeah, the foxes will go after the wild turkeys. The problem with that is the wild turkeys are very, very difficult for foxes to catch. I watched one when I was hunting one time. I watched 2 wild turkeys lead a fox for about half an hour around in circles because when the fox got within 20 yards, they would move a little further, and they knew where he was. They just kind of led him in a nice little ring around the rosy for a while. And then when they got tired of playing, they flew off.
Yeah, and they do fly. So, I've never done a complete garden, our big garden. But I think it's going to make it easier for weeding and stuff.
Oh.
I'm trying to look on the positive and the upside for it.
Will the wild turkeys eat your garden? They will.
They might peck at it, but they're going to more peck around for bugs, like chickens do.
Yeah, I mean they'll eat bugs and things like that. I mean, if there's something particularly succulent, they might. If you have enough wild turkeys that you're worried about them wrecking your garden, yeah, I would find another solution to that problem. I would have a turkey solution. Had a fox take one of the stray cats several weeks ago. Saw it, couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
Roxy, I think you said you had armadillos all over the place. Armadillos will destroy a garden. They dig up really bad and they will eat everything.
Armadillos. Possums on a half shell.
Yeah. Before Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we had turtles on a half shell. We always called armadillos possum on a half shell.
But so the gardening is going to be a whole new experience this year because obviously we're going to have to spend more time in watering because the containers will dry out faster, and fertilizing will be more important because
there's less space for them to draw nutrients from. Yeah.
Right, and we're going to have to drill holes in the around for drainage around the bottom, so as the water leaches out or drips out, so will the nutrients.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we're going to do a little differently. We're going to try a couple of different solutions for the buckets than we've done in the past. One to make it easier to water, and different drilling. Did the laundry baskets work well last time?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
for the things for the peppers and stuff that were in them, they worked wonderfully. The only problem was that I had to line them, and I had to get the non-plastic but the fabric type cloth.
The landscape fabric for putting down to block weeds.
Yeah.
Back up to 300 acres of county forestry. Coyotes, bobcats, panthers, you name it. Wild boars, I got it.
I don't know what state you're in, but you may be able to get a nuisance license.
Well, most places, wild boar are considered a pest and are open season year round. You can whack them anytime you see them, and they're generally tasty little critters. So get a spotlight.
No, you.
No,
Don't
for
tell
those
people.
you can. Well, it depends on your state. Check out your local
Don't-
laws.
don't-
on it.
don't- don't-
She's in
don't.
Mississippi.
Mississippi. Check with your state. So, because
Hey, Lone Star.
hey, Lone Star, we had it. We know we had 15 inches standing under the house.
Yeah, under the house, and the house is higher.
Oh, what was that?
I don't know. I'll go look.
Well, no, I know what fell. I just want to know how it fell. I see what fell. Don't do.
I wonder if burlap would line the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It would. So.
I'm gonna guess that autocorrect got you on that one, Lone Star.
What? Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, burlap will work for a fabric barrier, depending on as long as it's not dyed or have preservative
I would
chemicals.
assume that 100% cotton sheets that you might be able to find at yard sales and thrift shops would even work.
Yeah, it's going to rot fairly quickly. If you've got open side baskets, it's probably going to break up. But what should we plant now for containers? You're in Mississippi, so
You're in much warmer than we are, so I would have imagined that you would be putting in your spring crops now, where we're still a little cooler, and ours are potatoes and peas, cabbages, broccolis, Brussels sprouts, turnips, beets. Those things we're planting now are actually a little behind on planting.
Yeah, we should already have them in, but
But
story.
Circumstances happened that we were out of town. But when we were in Mississippi, and we lived there for 4 years, about this, and it depends on where you are, because we were down on the coast.
Yeah, we were all the way down on the Gulf Coast.
So I was actually starting to put in my spring crops.
Mm-hmm.
We spent, between the panhandle of Florida and the Mississippi coast, we spent 11 years down there.
There's Dragon's Talon.
Hey, Dragon!
45 minutes from the coast, so you're pretty decent weather. It's warm enough. You probably plant whatever. The biggest question is, what do you want to plant, and what's the gonna
see? Because our frost date, our last frost date is April 15th. So, though we're in the 60s right now, in a couple days we could be in the 30s again.
Yeah, we can have all 4 seasons in 1 week.
Yeah, we can.
We did 2 weeks ago.
We did.
Peppers and tomatoes, yeah, you could start those now.
It all depends on what you like.
You plant a salsa garden now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we growing in containers this year?
Everything. We're going to have to grow everything in containers that we normally grow because, again, we're concerned about ground contamination. And yes, I know that we can have the ground tested.
But the thing is,
but I had floodwaters. I'm not.
Well, that's hit or miss too. If you can have them test here, and if the puddles of contaminants settled there, and you test 2 feet away, you could miss it. Now, if it's broad spread enough that it's saturated everything, you've got even bigger problems.
And then again, the other reason we're doing, because our ground is so saturated that if the plants will drown, they won't even, they'll rot from the roots up.
We had that. I want to say 2009. We had another year where I think we broke that year's record this year with the rainfall. We had so much rain that most stuff in the ground died off early, and the things in containers really struggled and didn't produce all that well. What trees do you recommend for containers? Mini bananas, small satsumas?
The best trees that I've seen grow in containers really are lemons and Meyer limes.
The dwarf citruses.
Yeah.
But lemons, limes, if you have the small satsuma, dwarf satsuma trees, little orange trees like that, you can do those.
Those are the best that I've seen in containers, and to be quite honest, those are the only ones that I've done in containers.
Yeah. Yeah, Suburban said 90% of our garden lost to root rot and rain last year.
Yeah.
So that's another reason we're gonna, because based on how it's been so far, this year's gonna be
Wet.
soggy too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's been raining every day here since the weekend, and it's not supposed to end for another week. And our ground is already so, seriously, you can stand there, talk to somebody, and take a step aside, and you'll see water.
Christine planted some pea seeds, and now I'm saying 10 days of rain. Hope they don't rot.
Yeah. Well, see, and again, what really gets me is I have to go out and buy all this soil.
Yeah. Well,
because even if you buy organic soil, you're taking somebody else's word at it.
Yeah. Well, we'll get the topsoil, we'll get the stuff, and then we'll add our own stuffases to it.
Rabbit.
3 10-year apple trees can't get the bare fruit.
You may be too warm.
Yeah, apple trees need cold weather
Yeah.
to set fruit. Unless you get
apple trees that were modified to be in a warmer climate, apples really need that cold snap.
Yeah, so soil is very alkaline. I really don't know.
We don't even mess with apples because we don't get cold enough for them.
Yeah, we're hot all the time. But you can check and see, do the Google thing or research.
Pears grow really well here.
Yeah. Research the
and figs grow everywhere.
Yeah. Pears are wonderful around here.
And figs, they can take the worst soil imaginable and still seem to grow. And then figs, because they grow so big, you can cut them down next to nothing, and
they'll grow right back. Suburban got potting soil $9.99 for 55 quarts.
So, it's just hard when you work so hard and your soil is so good and you know it's good and you just can't do anything.
Well, we're going to bring you along this journey with us as we set up the different containers. We'll show the different ways we set things up for different stuff and the different approaches we're going to take. And you'll track along with us and see how they do.
Because I've even gone to a farmer's market in the past. Y'all know that. What I couldn't grow enough of myself, I would go to a farmer's market and make up the difference. I'm not comfortable doing that this year because the flooding was so widespread. We had a Category 4 hurricane that dropped down to a Category 1.
Yeah, 1 or 2, depending.
1 or 2, depending on where it was, and it covered almost the entire east coast of North Carolina at the same time,
and South Carolina, yeah.
And we know for a fact that we had over 30 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. Yeah. So,
and then it lingered in the area from start to finish almost 3 days.
So everybody's ground is saturated, and everybody got some amount of flooding that even my most favorite farmer's market, where they tell you which farm the produce came off of, I'm not comfortable buying in their product.
And the one that you know where that came from because most of the stuff they grow themselves.
Exactly.
And you know where their fields are, but I know that area got deluged too.
So this is going to be a maximize how much gardening we do And hopefully the way we do it will produce for us.
We'll find out. Well, we're going to do obviously tomatoes. We're going to do cucumbers. We're going to in buckets with trellises.
We do our peppers. We're going to do green beans,
potatoes.
beets, carrots, potatoes. That was the other thing. Oh, I was so sick. We had to clean out our sweet potato beds. I was so sick because we were a month away from harvesting our sweet potatoes and everything flooded. And because I didn't know what was in that water, I threw away all my sweet potatoes. The ones that didn't rot.
Yeah.
And that was upsetting.
It was no fun.
No. Because either they rotted or
they looked just fine.
They looked just fine. And I didn't trust them to eat. So and I know I'm afraid I'm coming off as a Debbie Downer, and I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to just wrap my head around how much we're going to have to purchase and how important this year it is to me to grow, especially this year to grow, because everything flooded around us and I'm just not comfortable with the amount of contamination that may have happened.
So it's the sad to think of all of the loss. I'm looking at it in anticipation. There's going to be a lot of extra work. It's a challenge in a positive way to try and
see what we can do. But you know what I am excited about?
Don't tell me, tell them.
You know what I'm excited about? I am so excited about the minimal amount of weeding I think I'm going to have to do. Because I hate the weed.
Yeah,
but I think I'm really excited about that. Even if anything grows up around the containers, I mean, I can take a weed whacker and just
walk around the edges.
Go around and, you know what? That should take care of all the weeding.
And we can, because the buckets are going to be high enough. The bags and things, we'll have to play it by ear, but we can let the chickens around the buckets and they can clean out all the bugs and things. Whereas if you have when the plants are smaller in the ground, the chickens think the leaves are tasty too sometimes. But
plus they're going to be on pallets, so that adds an extra layer.
Well, now you remember the grapevine that was out back. We have some wild scuppernongs, and there was some hanging down about 3 feet off the ground. You remember the chicken standing underneath it? It would stand there and crouch and get itself and jump up and grab
a leaf. Yeah.
Grab at a leaf and sit there and chew that and then jump again. It was funny, a little pogo chicken bouncing up and down. Anyway, they can reach up.
Or the goats that ate all the leaves.
Yeah, the goat got loose and ate everything.
Yeah.
But anyway. Heather said you're smart to be concerned about the soil.
I just am not comfortable even going to my favorite farmer's market. And like I said, because of either space or, problems with the garden. I don't care how good of a gardener you are. Some years it just doesn't work. I'm not even comfortable going there to fill in what.
Christine Betts said, I'm going to plant a few potatoes in pots because of her clay soil. Yeah.
The dogs heard something. Excuse us.
I think there was a barking dog in the truck going by down the road.
It's okay, puppies.
Don't kill. It's all right.
They will continue barking until he gets back. He has to look. Once he looks, all right, Daisy.
Good.
Okay, go lay down. Go lay down. So, Beds. Fire ants turn. Oh, you know what? I don't know if it kills them or it just moves them, and I don't care. But we have found that cayenne pepper, if you sprinkle cayenne pepper all over a fire ant hill, they go away.
We've done some raised beds with cinder blocks, and that usually works out well.
But then again, it's the soil.
But yeah, it's the soil that's in those that we've used before. So yeah, we have salvaged some of the cinder blocks for other purposes, but we're not going to use those for raised beds just now.
No, because it would be too much scrubbing and cleaning, and because the cinder block's so porous. That...
Is there something you can plant that will pull toxins from the soil?
Not that I know of. And if anybody does know of anything, please let us know. But I think this is just going to be one of those things that the earth is going to have to repair itself, and
give it a couple of years and go.
Yeah.
Those are pound puppies. We have.
Yes, both of our Daisy and Princess, both are our pound puppy. I'm sorry, I said her name and she looked up like, "Are you talking to me?"
I tried gasoline on fire ant piles, but too expensive and messy. Yeah, and then
you've got the gasoline in your soil.
And all that does is move them. You'll kill a bunch of them, but you're still going to miss 30%, and they'll just come up someplace else.
And I'll be honest with you, I go to one of the local independent grocers around here, and they have for $1. No, down. Thank you. They have for $1 a container like this of cayenne pepper.
It's like 4-ounce containers.
Yeah. So I'm not putting anything toxic into my ground. I'm not hurting any other animals. Birds can even come down and they don't taste the pepper.
Yeah, that's something. If you have problems with squirrels on your bird feeders, douse everything down with cayenne pepper. The birds can't taste it. It goes right through and doesn't bother them.
Okay, sorry.
Shake.
Shake.
Shake your pepper.
So,
but you can douse it with the cayenne pepper. And
squirrels don't like cayenne pepper, but birds it doesn't affect.
Let's see. But we're going to do all the different things. We're going to do trellises for the climbing things,
right,
and cattle panels and hoops and.
Well, we did all that.
We've done it in small.
No, we've done all that with the other garden. We're going to just try and do it with a container garden.
The biggest challenge is we're going to spread the tomatoes out a little bit more. Is making sure that as they get large, they don't want to topple over. I'll have to secure the buckets.
But here's the other thing that I'm concerned about too, is growing watermelons and cantaloupes. Because I can't think of a way to let the vines grow and the fruit not come in contact with the ground.
You have to train them up the. Remember, we saw somebody did that with pantyhose and put little hammocks for the melons once they started forming.
I guess I could get to the dollar store and buy
cheap knee highs.
Yeah. I guess we could do that.
Christine's used the cayenne pepper help with the ants. Had to keep applying.
Yeah, you do have to keep applying, especially if it rains.
Any containers for shade?
Well, my herbs, now my herb garden has always been in containers because I like to be able to move them depending on where the shade is. And since we had trees down and big limbs down, we're really going to have to work on where we put the herb garden this year.
We have to rearrange things.
We are. Because I never put my herbs in a really sunny spot. They don't do well. At least for me, they don't. The more shade, the more shade there. Listen, this may sound, but this is my theory on growing rosemary. It's so difficult. I put the plant in and I look at it and go, live or die, it's up to you. And then I walk away. I used to fuss over it and it would die all the time. I tell it live or die now and it makes it. It does its own thing. Do not fuss over rosemary. Rosemary is an independent plant. Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the rosemary plant out there is still doing quite well.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not. We're gonna have to put another rosemary in a container because I'm not willing to for a few years.
No. Yeah.
So it's all going to be trial and error this year. I'm really hoping for the best. I really believe that we can do this. It's just the extra amount of work and the extra expense that I'm concerned about. But on the other hand, I am excited because we know we're going to have, hi Princess, we know we're going to have this spacing right because we can pick the bucket up and move.
If they start crowding each other, I'll just pick one of them up and move it.
Exactly. And I don't have to worry so much about weeding. We've been watching all of YouTube, figuring out ways to keep the containers properly moist because you don't want to overwater and then you don't want it to become too dry that the plant becomes stressed.
And because with tomatoes, it takes no time at all.
To stress the tomato plant, yeah.
So Heather said I bought 2 rosemaries at Walmart 2 years ago. They're huge now.
Yeah. And I bet you didn't fuss over them either.
We planted one when we moved into the house here, and it got to be about 4 feet in diameter and 3 feet high. It was huge.
And then we had an ice storm, and it split it in half, and everybody said that's going to die. And it
just grew into 2 plants.
It did.
Too much arthritis for weeding. Yeah, knees and back.
Yeah,
like that. So,
but I'm excited. I'm apprehensive on one hand, and on the other side, I'm thrilled and excited. So, I think it's going to be okay. I really do. It's just a matter of I knew where everything went before. Now trying to make sure that we can put everything in that we need and extra.
In case there's any issues. Yeah. But
we have to plant extra because we don't know how a large garden is going to do in containers. Now I'm going to tell you something. My parents lived after we all moved out of the house. There were 5 of us. We all moved out of the house. My parents grew tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers in 5-gallon buckets on the back patio of an apartment. They had everything that they needed for the entire summer season, and then extra. Mom would freeze stewed tomatoes, and she'd make stuffed peppers and stick them in the freezer. So I know it can be done, and I've done stuff in containers. I know it can be done. I've just never had to do my entire garden this way.
Let's see. Roxy said, "Do you plant basil? Any favorite types?"
I do, and I just what is it called? The
Genovese or Italian? We had was it cinnamon basil?
Yeah, and I really couldn't tell a difference.
Well, it's
a slight difference, but not enough to get all excited about.
Let's see. Heather said, "Yep, didn't mess with them for rosemary."
Oh, Pickers, we'll see you later, hon. Thanks for stopping by.
Take care. Christy Betts said, "I broke up sticks for the bottom of my container so they would take less soil." Well, one of the things we're going to do for the buckets, both to aid in watering and to use less soil, you take, was it a milk jug, cut the bottom of it out, put a piece of PVC up through the top, put that in the bottom, and then fill it with dirt. It takes up less dirt, and then the PVC pipe comes up. You can water down the pipe and put the water in and not spray the leaves and the plants and things like that. So
you don't fill the milk jug up with dirt.
No,
That's where
that's where the water
goes. And
Yeah.
you have a couple slits in there so the water can
seep out. Yeah. Yeah, so you use less dirt, though. You have a void in there to put
Yeah.
the water in. And the rocks really affect the acidity, the pH of the soil and all. So you have to use the right rocks, and it's really hard and it really depends on which plants you're using. Roxy said she used rocks in her containers,
Right.
and that was a big fail. So anyway, using the milk jugs and the PVC for water enhancement, they'll keep it from drying out.
Sticks are not a problem this year.
Yeah, we got plenty of sticks. The only problem with sticks is where do we pile them?
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to just burn stuff because it's useful stuff, but we got to store it until we need it. And we're going to use the pecan tree that blew over. Has got a lot of long, like 2 inches to 1.5 inch long branches that are maybe 10 feet. We're cutting all of those up for poles for
Right.
things like that.
We're going to use those to stake up tomato plants and
make tripods for beans to grow up.
Exactly. Make trellises if we can bend them. Just really trying to hold down expense and
reuse what's been provided.
Yeah.
Wasn't necessarily in the format or the time sequence I would have liked to have it, but hey, it's here, so I'll use it.
Exactly. But it's all going to be good.
It will. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. That's the way it used to work around here. So I got a lot of stuff that I can use. No success with strawberries. I've given up.
That's another thing. We have a strawberry farm probably within a mile and a half.
A mile and a half.
Mile and a half. Their field's flooded too. I don't know what we're going to do for strawberries this year.
Well, the place on the other side of the county where it's one of the high parts of the county. It's like 20 feet, 25 feet above sea level. So woohoo!
Yeah, but they had all the flooding.
They had rainwater, but it would have run off as opposed to standing water we had. We'll have to find out. But anyway, JJL Forge. Hey.
Hey, how's it going, JJ? So,
Daisy.
It's just when you homestead, this is what happens. Life happens. And what do we say?
Life is what happens while you are making other plans.
But what else?
Oh, Semper Gumby.
That's it.
Rigid flexibility.
So, we're going to be Semper Gumby. Let's see. We lost an entire pecan tree. Pecan, I don't know.
Them nut things they make pies out of.
Yeah, that I'm allergic to.
And what is that farmer going to do this year? They're going to plant their farms and grow it as always. We're just not going to eat any of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's their business. That and they have greenhouse tomatoes. I'm not eating the strawberries. If we can't grow them here, I'll do without them. To me, it's not that great of a tragic loss, but I'm not as fond of strawberries as some other folks are.
I'm going to try and do some blueberries. Get some fresh blueberry bushes and try and do them in containers this year too. Yeah. So we can do some blueberries.
JJL Forge. Pecan scraps. Make pretty handles. You need some? What size diameter? We'll send you some.
I have a whole tree down on its side.
Go lay down.
We'll get one of those flat rate boxes and send you some.
Yeah. You put a lot of stuff in there.
Hey, Lily. Lily is our grand doggy. Lily belongs to our son and his family, but she's here right now. Okay, Lily, go lay down. Go lay down, Lily.
We need to go out. So.
Okay, you gonna take them?
If y'all excuse me for a minute.
Puppies need to
go.
go.
Jumped up.
Puppies need to go outside right now.
Come on, let's go.
So, we'll bring you along on this journey. We'll let you see everything. And the other thing is, that I'm excited about is if I'm doing all these container garden, I can designate new areas and set everything up there. And I'm kind of excited about that because, like, one of my favorite things, we always plant a lot of tomatoes, but I always plant grape tomatoes and pear tomatoes so that while we're outside harvesting, if anybody gets hungry, we just pull the tomatoes up, the little tomatoes, and they leave my big tomatoes alone so that I can make salsa and ketchup and whatever else I have to make. So I'm kind of excited about now I can move things around a little bit. And I'm liking that. Let's see. Carrots in buckets. I've never thought about doing that. Huh. Let me see what I can scrounge up, JJ. Maybe, and I'll contact you. We can maybe send you some. So Steve's outside with the puppies, and we didn't want to make this really long. We just wanted to give you an update of what's going on. Oh yeah, eggplants in a bucket. You can do eggplants in a bucket. And lately we've been doing not just the Black Beauty eggplants, but we've been doing the what do they call them? Fantasy eggplant. They're the
Long ones.
long, light purple, kind of white and violet color. I like to use those for soups. Sandy mulch soil mix where he grows carrots in a bucket.
Yeah. Well, when we did the carrots in Florida, they did really well in the loose soil as to the depth that we had tilled it down. We had a lot of carrots that went down about 6 inches and then had a little bitty tap going down. And they got real short and fat.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have to have, because they won't go into dense soil. They've got to have loose soil.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we did in raised beds, but never in a bucket.
2 inches by 4 inches long. 2 inches diameter, 4 inches long.
For the
Yeah, okay.
wood handles.
Well, I can probably come up with a few.
Come up with a few. Yeah, maybe.
On the really damp parts, grow mushrooms.
I don't play around with mushrooms. They just scare the jeepers out of me.
Yeah, when you got one that's really delicious and one that looks almost exactly the same will kill you dead and there's no options.
And because our ground is so wet, the bad ones are growing up all over the place.
Yeah, if I see mushrooms, it's usually not something that you want.
So I'm not adventurous enough to try and grow mushrooms.
Maybe someday, but not for now.
So we're going to go ahead and call it a day. And
almost any roots, beets, turnips, parsnips. Yeah, we're going to do
right, yeah.
Beets and turnips we talked about already.
Yeah. Parsnips, I haven't had those in years. And it's just one of those things. You get out of the habit of eating stuff. But I remember the first time I had a parsnip, it was at my grandmother's house. And I want to say the first time I remember having a parsnip. I want to say I was about 5 years old, maybe 6. And I remember asking my grandmother what they were, and she said white carrots.
It's a white carrot, just eat it.
It's a white carrot, just eat it. So, oh, thank you, Sub. We've missed being here too, but we've had a lot going on. We had to make a quick trip down to Florida last week. We got home last week because both of my parents were in the hospital. One got out and the other one was being admitted. So, and then, we had the PSA about what happened over Christmas. And then all the rain. And we see, I don't know if you follow Jason and Robin at Big Bear Homestead, but their female cow, their heifer, would go on a walkabout. Well, what we think was happening is that she was sensing our bull, who was also going on a walkabout.
Yeah, it's a long distance romance. But yeah,
well, one night one of the neighbors called and said, your bull is in my front yard.
Yeah. It was like we had been over and visited, and we were back home, and it was.
They are, Christine, as good as they're going to get. Thank you.
Yeah, we were what? It was 9ish, almost 9.
Yeah.
Cows are out, or bulls are out.
Bulls
so
are
like,
out.
Me and bearded brother there jumped into the car and ran over and helped. When we got there, long distance romance. Yeah. Our son-in-law, well, they had one of them back in the halter, and the daughter was holding the halter of the one, trying to control it. The son-in-law was trying to get the halter on the other.
And it was an interesting story we'll tell maybe another time.
But we got there in time to salvage things or help them with that and lead them home.
Mm-hmm. The bull wrestler, yeah, that's what we'll call him.
Well, I fling a lot of bull. Is that the same thing?
No. No. Hello, baby. Okay, well, we've been on for a little over 50 minutes now. And Lily, our grandpuppy, is well,
trying to climb on your lap.
She is. Lily, you're not allowed up here. You know that.
Go lay down.
So we're going to call it a day, guys. And thanks for joining us today. We will be back more often, and we will give you updates and pictures of what's going on. So, as always, have a blessed day and share your knowledge.
Bye, all.
Bye. Okay, Lily, you got to stop. I have to stop this.